Hello and welcome. I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you episode 33 of Programming with Shadow. Okay, in previous lessons, we've been building out a simulation here for a registration simulation. And today, what we're going to do is I'm going to transfer this. So we're just going to redo it in Visual Studio just to get a little experience there. We're going to move from Visual Studio Code to actual Visual Studio. So we'll start with a little introduction on it, but it's Microsoft's flagship .NET environment. So there's a community edition, and we're going to be using that for today. The reasoning for this is that in trying to prepare for this video and trying to do this video previously, I'm having trouble getting the testing to actually work on my VM. On top of that, it's already running so slowly. It's going to get harder to deal with it. So I think this is an alright time, and I actually haven't done testing in Visual Studio Code like that before, so it technically has support, and we should be able to get it running here in the built-in testing here, but I've not been able to get it to work easily. I think we can do better by moving to the Visual Studio and begin moving in that direction. So that'll be the path for the day. So we'll begin. Let me switch scenes. So we're going to see Edge first. Off my VM. Alright. I've already looked it up. So visualstudio.microsoft.com/downloads, and the community edition should be fine for our purposes. It's the most comprehensive IDE for .NET and C# development on Windows for building web, cloud, desktop, mobile apps, services. So download that and begin installing it, and it will take a while. It's not going to be quick. Eventually, you'll get an installer and a pack. It'll look something like this. There you go, a little bigger. It'll look something like this. You'll have this, and it probably says install if I remember correctly. It'll give you an option to configure or maybe modify. It'll bring you to a page like this. What you want to make sure there is when you get to this page, click this .NET Desktop Development. If there's any others I could click them as well. There's a bunch, but for the most part, this will be the one we're focused on for now. .NET Desktop Development, not development with C++. .NET. But yeah, check out the others if there's anything you think you might use. You can look through individual components if there's anything version I need. But you can go through and see if there's any support. I'm going to see if there's any more here that I would recommend. I actually don't have help viewer. I was going to say help viewer is usually alright. I actually don't even have it on myself, so not a good example. I would say look through and see if there's anything, but I would say that's all you're going to need for now. And as you learn what other stuff does, you can turn on stuff like, I don't think I had F# on to begin with, but I added it later. But yeah, I'm not going to change anything, so I'm going to just say pick this, and if there's anything else you want, you can pick it, but remember it will take space and time, then installing. This install will take you a long time, so I recommend go ahead and pausing the video and leaving off there. Didn't even check if you see this. Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, so that's roughly what I would suggest. Let me re-show the so eventually you'll get a window that looks like somehow I'm back in my VM. Let me move my VM. Put a copy over. All kinds of problems. There we go. All right, so it's moved over. So you'll have something like this. I've got recents because I've opened other stuff here. You'll come up to a window like this though, and I'm going to click create new project. So the other options are clone. So if you have git, you can open one if you've already exist. So if you've done this on your device, you can open it and be the same thing. Open the local or create new. We're going to create new. The reason for that is I'm just going to see. We're just going to get some experience using Visual Studio. You can see I've already got it on the list here. Console app is the one we're going to use. That's the equivalent to console as we're writing, but you can just search for it up here. You can just say console and it should be able to find it. Yeah, you can see there's several. We want this one, or console on .NET. Framework's different. It's not the correct one. These other ones, VB, F sharp. We're looking for C sharp because that's what we're doing. I can come down here and click next. Directory will go to maybe. I was moving this so it'd be less laggy, but I've clicked on something and now File Explorer's not up. That's really slow. Cancel that one more time. Okay. Oh well. We'll put it here then, and we'll call it. I've already got this, so I'm going to call it something different. I will say registration, installation. There we go. Something like that. Something just to differentiate it. We'll go next. I'm going to go .NET 9 because I think that's what we were using. Let me check. Yeah, we're using .NET 9, so we'll .NET 9 here. Not use top level domain. Yeah, we did not. All right. So I'm going to click create, and again, this might take a little while too. I think mine it'll be pretty quick. Not create. There we go. I need to add a new scene. Apparently, that's a different scene. Added one more window capture. We'll call this capture. All right. The resharpers you shouldn't have. That is an extension I've got installed. I probably should remove for our purposes. You should be brought to probably this. We'll close this. Go to extend. They're easy to disable. There is not an easy disable. In fact, it doesn't even show it. Hold on, what that is. Eh. We'll leave it for now, and hopefully it'll be fine. We're presented with this window here, and everything looks small. Let's see if we can bump the size up. I have a feeling we can. Property windows, that's not where I wanted. Or I bet it's in tools actually before I do that. Theme, dark, fine. That is definitely not dark. Font. Editor, let's bump that up to 12 so it's bigger. Yeah, that looks Yeah, here we go. This is what I was looking for. So let's set that to 100. Let's bump the font size up one more time for purposes. It's a little big for me, but I think that'll be better for, yeah. Let's see. So other settings, should be a way to make the sides bigger, but I really don't know how to scale it up. Maybe I would have to use the Windows scaling, and I don't want to do that. Oh well. We'll go with this. We'll see how this looks, and if I need to bump it up again, I'll bump it up a little further. There's a lot of settings. You can look through them if you like. Some of these you won't have because of depending on what you clicked. A lot of these are stuff I've clicked and played around with a little bit. But we'll go ahead and leave it at that. So here we go. We have Visual Studio. So the first thing to note is that Solution Explorer is the name of the Explorer from Visual Studio or Visual or VS Code. So this just shows your project as it's structured. This is my solution, uh, CSproj, and then my files. So under this, we'll just copy the same structure we had before. We will add a new folder. We'll call it models. Here we will add second one, we'll call it simulation. There we go. There's just our structure back. Notice it adds the groups here because they're empty. I think if they weren't empty, it wouldn't have done that, but since they're empty, they did that. All right, so let's begin. We'll start with the distribution class. So it was in simulation. So we've been having to create our files. Otherwise, what we can do here is we can pick class instead. And here it pulls up a window that you can pick class and you can pick other things as well. Expected to see start in here, but it don't. Interface, class, record. Interesting. I would have figured those would be there, but I guess not. We're just going to do class, and we will say distributions. So it adds us some defaults. This is a template, and I bet we can adjust that, but I'm just going to come in here and hit Control Dot and remove all those. Also, it defaults to using scoped instead of file scoped. I prefer to use file scope, so I'll do that as well. I bet that's a setting. Let's see if that's a setting. Yeah, there's probably in here somewhere. I don't see it right offhand. We'll need to play through these settings in the coming lessons as well and see about that. Let's look for file scope. Yeah, I'll have to play around with that. I am pretty sure there's going to be a way to adjust that, but I don't know right offhand. Let's switch this to public static distribution. So there, we're back to where we started. So let's go ahead and actually do this. So do private static read only random RNG equals new. And hit there, it clearly has what it's using enabled. There's how I change it. How you should probably change it is come in here, go down to and at the bottom there's a properties. You're hiding behind my mouse. I would expect there's one in here. Probably that one. Yeah, let's click it and see if that restores. And there's our list. Now if we go back over here, now it's enabled. Now if we click it again, now it's disabled. So yeah, there's the option. So right click in properties and you get a more visual way of seeing what we've been doing manually, this file. Now we need to import that. So there we go, let it import it. So let's do double static int get on double expected value. So if I had an easier way to do this, which I do, it would be in get or just use what I've already got, but keep this in place. We'll play around with seeing how Visual Studio does stuff. So double sum equals math.log 1.0 minus rng.next double double. I am already messing up my copy though. You might see if I can get copy and paste at least work. 0 sum less than limit plus sum plus equals math.log. There we go. Turn count. So there's the big thing. IntelliSense is actually quick on my end. May not show quick on the recording, but on my end, the IntelliSense is actually pretty. That's one nice thing about it. Everything in the VM is going slowly. It's getting slower, I think, instead of faster. So max value. So return rng.next one max value. Public static double get negative exponential double expected value. Return expected value times 1.0 minus math.log rng.next double math.p. There we go. So there, we copied over our class here. There you can see it gives you a little more information here as you're looking at the value. The double, so it returns a logarithm of the specified number of base number in the specified base. Just reading through, there's a lot of information there, but when you mouse over things, you're getting a little more information. It should be very similar for the most part, but sometimes you'll get a little more, and sometimes that can be useful, sometimes not. That's a file here in Visual Studio. What else do we have? Convention registration. Let's do it later. Let's go to models. Let's do an event. Like there's an easier way to add class event. Again, it's going to have stuff I don't like, and I really want to adjust that. So I'll figure that one out, and we'll do a setup video next. So class event type, date, time, int ID. Public event type. Let's create our event type, I guess. That'd probably make the most sense. and since it's most dependent. I'm thinking of riders. Add is actually what I'm thinking of. File namespace public enum event type. Arrival, departure. That there popping up there may not pop up if you don't have resharper. I think that's resharper popping up, so I'll need to turn that one off as well because it's paid for. You have to buy it. There's just an event type, so that's fixed that. Now, notice the IntelliSense was able to predict what I was going to do. Here it sort of predicts again. So instead of ID, though, let's change that to registrant ID. Make sure it stays matching. Then we also need error to string. So another useful feature of Visual Studio we'll get to see is it's your built-in debugger is it's easier to set up than Visual Studio Code's one. I won't say it's actually better. Visual Studio Code's one is actually really nice. Microsoft's done a lot of work getting it working, but I'd say for C# in particular, I would say Visual Studios is the better one. We'll be able to see how we actually work with that as we go on. Maybe I'll use the fix that, or we have that bug there where I'm pressing Control Dot to pull this up. By the way, you can also click light bulb over here. The light bulb's information, or it's giving you an option. Close that for now. We don't need blocks. So each one of these are just little windows, and you can pin them or unpin them. If you lose them, they're up here. They are in view. Okay, so view, and you can find them over here. A toolbox here. I think there'd be a solution Explorer. Solution Explorer, very top, and completely overlooking it. That's how you use some of these features. Going to a registrant. Add registrant. Here, well, let's use their prop. So it highlights in red which one you're on, and then you press tab twice apparently to go to the next one. Notice it doesn't lag as much, and I just press enter and enter twice and ready for the next one. Prop, date time, tab, service time, tab, prop, time span, tab, service duration, tab, prop, int, tab, window, queue number, tab. The terminal's hiding the rest of the Windows queue number, enter, prop, event, tab, arrival time, prop, event, departure time. So notice I'm actually using those, and we'll use them more as we keep going. That one. The reason I didn't use them in the VS Code was they were so laggy I couldn't get it to tab properly as I was going through them. Here, they're fast enough I can use them. That was entirely running on a virtual machine versus running on the real machine. That is entirely on my side, but there's how you actually use those, and they should work like that in VS Code. I don't think it's that as slow as as my VM made it. So let's add their constructor. We'll do a CTOR. Event ID, event time of arrival. ID, service time equals default. Windows queue number equals -1. Arrival time equals time of arrival. And departure equals new event type departure. Time of arrival dot time -1. So public override to string, public override to string tab, return /n arrival time time service time we just did service time. What's your time? So service time's already a time. Doing these turns these are getting the date times out of our events, basically. This was the difference there. Cool. So here, if I press Control Dot, get my expression body, so we can do that. That on one line. There we go. Do this. We'll do Windows Dot, Windows Dot Control Dot, like that. All right. So there we go. There's all of our models. So let's come up here now. We'll add a new class, and this will be our menu item. Control dot to file namespace. Control dot to public. Set enum, there we go. Set registrant equal 1. Set operation hours. Set window number, that should be count. Set expected checkout run simulation and exit program. There we go. There's our enum. So let's do a menu. So normally we've been right clicking over here and doing it. Let's do it this way. Over here we'll do public class menu. And we can do just like before. We can go over here and say move to menu.cs, and there we go. Now we created a file. So here, we did a lot of work in this file, so we'll run through it pretty quickly, but we'll do private const string count of spaces equals 3, right? 3. Notice when I highlight it, don't see the spaces. I think we can fix that, but I'll have to figure that one out too. Public const console color, alternate color, color dot dark green. Gives us a little hint of how it's going to look. And I'll say on my monitor, OBS is recording versus this one, color looks pretty different. Public const console color. I would say the one I'm on looks correct. The one that OBS is on does not. So we'll hope that's just the monitor, because I know it has other issues. And cyan. Console color, error color. Red, good. Console color, background color. Great. There we go. There's our colors. Let me. I'm going through. Let me take the notes of stuff I want to look up. So, see how to set many spaces to file scoped. Create enum file type. What one did I just think of? Remove resharper for now. I just thought of another one as I was typing, but lost it before I got here. We'll come back to that. So now we need our list, private, read only list, string items, prop, string, tab, title, tab, public, menu. This is our constructor, but I'm going to add a value, so I'm just going to do it myself. That wasn't it. Couldn't have done it myself. Typing went terrible right there. Public void add string item. Need to slow down on my typing, I guess. Remove an item. Again, not sure why the apply change signature refactoring keeps popping up, but ignore it. Public void display. Video console.clear. Give it a blank screen. I may want to try there we go. That's what I thought. Typing a note, get mono k thing. So I'll switch back to the same theme I used in VS Code eventually. This is one of the defaults. I doubt I've changed this one much. To be honest, I don't use Visual Studio all that often. I actually use Rider more frequently. I don't think. Let me check it. Let me check one more thing. I don't think Rider's community. I think. It is free for non-commercial, so might consider that in the future as well. I'm paying for it for the dot ultimate, but interesting. So yeah, I wasn't sure if it was non-commercial or not. I know they changed some of them recently, but I wasn't sure if Rider was. So there might be something to try as well, but we'll go Visual Studio because it's the most common still. Current data. Static void. Wait. Long date string. Console.window width. Date.length. -2 and 0. Start beginning. Date. There we go. There's just one static method. We'll do this real quick. Static display title. Not static though, it's a void. I feel like they should be static. Oh, we do use colors, never mind. Console.foreground color equals alternate. W /n/t, count of spaces, title. Console.write /t, spaces for int I equals 0, I less than title dot length plus console.write console.write line console.foreground color equals primary. There we go. There's just one more method, and now we're going to do a void display items for int I equals 0, I less than items.count, I plus CW T I plus 1 dot items at I. There, we don't actually need the parentheses. Remove redundant parentheses. There we go. There's just our menu class, I think. Oh no, there's. Oh, we have the big. We'll do public int get choice. And I think we're going to go over the hour if I don't hurry. I want to get in a rush because then it's hard to follow, but also don't know. It's 2 videos. Throw new exception. The menu is empty while true. Display console.write /n/t spaces at the number of your choice from the menu. Background color equals alternate color. I was looking for a good time to explain one of the. I don't actually even know what it's called. Right there is actually a good one. So so RL. You can see it picks read line. So it makes use of the casing, the camel casing, and you can use that to be able to, if you have a longer method name, you can use the first letters of the camel casing to help you identify it in the list. And I was looking for a good place to do that, but everyone that was good for that was like something like console write line, where it's not that good for it. But you can do it something like that. There's another example, but this one's not good. If I do FG or FC, but again, it's the only one, so it's not really that helpful. Again, primary color, but it already knows that because it's fine. Yeah, if I find other good spots to mention that, I will, but I don't. Here's one. Okay, tripars. Okay, it's the only one. Never mind. I know there's going to be a good place to do that later. I just don't know where it's going to be. Here's this maybe one. Read key. So you can use that sometimes to save your time, and that is something that does work a lot better than VS Code does. I think VS Code still supports that feature, but I don't even have it work well on not on a VM, so I think that's one Visual Studio does better. There we go. There's a serve menu. Hopefully we haven't made any typos. Go to simulation and we'll do add, Control Shift A. Add, Shift Alt C. There we go. Shift Alt C. I'll try to remember that. That's not good on my. Doesn't flow well for me though, so I may not be able to do that one. Mention registration. There we go. And like I said, I'll see if I can figure that one out too. The public internal thing, that technically makes sense, but it's not how we've done it so far, but that one actually makes sense. I don't prefer the file namespace. I prefer file namespaces. I guess that wasn't the default, but I prefer it now. All right, so let's begin. So we have a private constant, const int milliseconds to delay display equals 10. Private const int opening time equals 8. Represents 8 a.m. Private const int minimum service time in seconds equals 90. It takes at least 90 seconds to register. So I've got a typo there in the comment, so it's probably a bad comment, so probably should get rid of it. We'll worry about that later. Private list queue registrant underscore registrant registration windows. Private list int registration numbers, private time span, total time, private, read-only, priority queue, event, take time. We should probably make our own priority queue. That might be a good venture for future. Private read-only, date time, open time equals new, date time dot today dot year, date time dot today dot month, date time dot date time dot today dot day. What else do we do? Opening time and then a bunch of zeros. There's that. We should probably optimize that a little bit and do that in the constructor and set that actually. Set it so we don't have to look up date time each time. Yeah, and that's a minor thing. It's not going to break performance. Let's see. Private time span shortest equals new. Private time span longest equals new. Private int longest queue count equals 0. So we're keeping a lot of data here, and that's a good sign that we should break these out into other classes. So that'll be the next lesson, hopefully, when we'll actually talk about unit testing. Hopefully. Public const int default number of registrants 1000. Public const int default hours of operation equals 8. Public const int default number of windows equals 7. Public const double default expected registration duration equals 5.0. Now we get the properties. Once again, this class is doing too much. Fix this. So we'll do prop int expected number of registrants equals default number of registrants. Prop int hours operation whoops, I messed that up. Hours of operation prop int number of windows prop double tab expected registration duration tab equals expected registration duration prop int tab actual number of registrants prop int tab events processed tab prop int tab count of arrivals tab prop int tab count of departures. So now we'll need one more, so we'll do this one ourselves because we expanded it already and we didn't use the feature we can do that with. Get turn longest queue count, set if value is greater than longest queue count. There we go. So we can hit this here and make that an expression. We did not do that before, but we can do that. There we go. Now we have constructors. So we'll do C4. This one's empty. Now we have a copy constructor. Copy. We'll do expected number of registrants equals copy dot expected number. Hours of operation equals copy dot hours of operation. For Windows equals that, and expected duration equals duration. There we go. There's our constructors, and we're out of time, but this is a big file though. And we'll go overtime. Overtime. All right. So let's continue. Public void run simulation. String error message equals validate inputs. If string dot is null or white space, error message, throw new exception, error message. Setup. While there are still people in the queues, while priority queue dot count less than 0, get event from queue event current equals that. Good. Events process plus plus. If current event type is arrival, handle arrival. Else if current dot event type is departure, handle departure. Else throw new exception, valid event current. That probably doesn't make good sense because current there's just going to be a number, I believe. There's this going down. After that, then we do longest queue equals find longest line count. Display simulation. Slow the simulation. Thread.sleep. Oh, second delay display. display final results, and then return. There's a body here. Here's the hard one to type, unfortunately. So string validate inputs. All right, so string error messages equals this. If expected number of registrants is less than 1, /n/t, expected number of registrants is invalid. It should be greater than 0. I think that's all. Please re-enter. Period. That's all. Go ahead and spell please right. So there's that. If hours of operation are less than 0 or hours of operation are greater than 24, go error messages plus equals that /n/t hours of operation are invalid. They should be between 1 and 24. Please re-enter. Have to be nice with the messages. If number of windows is less than 0, error messages plus equals /n/t number of registration lines is invalid. It should be greater than 0. Please re-enter. If expected registration duration is greater than or equal to 1, it should be 1.5, right? Bug. Yeah, we'll leave it at 1, but 1, and we'll treat it as a bug maybe later. Expected service time, duration is invalid. It should be 1 minute or greater. Please re-enter. Then finally, return error message. That should be the longest one, I think. Notice something here. This I can use an is, merge into a pattern if it hours of operation is 0 or greater than 24. I'm going to leave that as is for now, but might actually do that later. Let's do setup next. Void setup. Get the actual number of registrants. Distributions.getPerson expected number registrants. Set up the registration windows. Registration windows equals new number of windows. So yours may not pop up that I am pretty sure that is resharper there, telling me what type it is. So that may not pop up on everything. Number of windows. Registration windows dot add new queue of registrants. Set up registration numbers to do. This is suspicious. Notice it puts it in a different color there. That makes it easier to find. Registrant numbers equals new list int number of windows, or int I equals 0, I less than number of windows plus numbers of I equals a new list equals a new list. Registration number. Right click, rename this. There, but I think this is resharper. There's some way to rename it properly. We'll not worry about that. We'll do it here. Registrant numbers. About there we go. Generate arrival events. Actual number. Start the time. Span 0. Start the counts. Events processed equals 0. Count of arrivals equals 0. Departures equals I feel like this is in the wrong spot actually. Generate arrival events int. I don't remember if we used that anywhere else. For int count equals 1, count less than or equal to. That's what I want actually. Span start equals get arrival time. Event arrival time equals new event type. Arrival open time dot add start and then count. Priority queue dot in queue arrival event arrival event and arrival event dot time. That looks like a good place for our own custom one. Maybe we'll do that in the future too. And then we need to come down here and we need to return, but underneath we'll do time span, get arrival time, We'll do const int seconds in hour equals 60 times 60, so 3600. Int uniform distribution equals distributions dot get uniform hours of operation times seconds an hour. Time span arrival time equals new 0 0 uniform distribution return arrival time. There we go. Get over here where you're supposed to be. All right, we're halfway there, so void handle arrival event arrival event of arrivals plus registrant equals new arrival event dot registrant ID arrival event int window index equals get shortest line doesn't exist. Window queue number equals registration windows at index dot count. Registration windows at window index dot queue registrant. Add them to the line. Update the numbers. So if registrant dot window queue number equals 0, schedule for registrant window index registrant dot arrival time dot time. Return int get shortest line int index equals 0 int shortest line equals int dot max value for int I equals 0 I less than number of windows plus int count equals registrant windows at I dot count. If count is less than shortest line equals count. I'm spelling count all over the place. Index equals I. Return index. Handle departure. All right. Count of departures plus int registrant ID equals departure event dot ID int window index equals find window for registrant. Registrant ID forwarding registrant windows window index dot PQ numbers at window index dot remove at 0. If registration windows at window index count greater than 0 or next registrant equals peak, not that. Schedule for registrant, passing in next registrant, window index, parting registrant dot departure time dot time. Return int find window for registrant ID for int I equals 0, I less than registration windows dot count plus if registration windows at I dot count greater than 0 and registration windows at I dot peak dot registrant ID equals registrant ID, return I, throw new invalid operation, matching registrant not found in any queue. Display final results. Average time equals average service time, total time, console dot foreground color equals menu dot primary color, CW right line, slash in the average service time for count of arrivals, registrants was average time. The minimum service time was shortest, and the maximum service time was longest. Return time span, average service time span time for seconds equals int time dot total seconds divided by actual number of registrants. Return new 0. All right, so now that was run simulation, so we're finally out of it. Now we need to do the register. I've got 5 more methods. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go way over. That'll be okay. We'll do private void schedule service for registrant window index time span date time service start time that was up. Wait a minute. It's like, wait a minute, that's not what I typed earlier. It was not. That's suspicious, but we're going. All right, time, span, duration equals get service duration. Turn. Let's remind ourselves of this one. Double duration equals minimum service time in seconds. Plus distributions dot get negative exponential. Expected registration duration minus minimum service time in seconds. I don't like how it does that, but we'll keep going. Time span. It's trying to make it readable. I don't like how it splits it though. Ryder definitely gets that one right. If service time shortest then the longest there's just a helper method that does a lot. Event departure equals new event departure registrant dot departure time dot time registrant dot registrant ID priority queue dot enqueue departure dot time. All right, there's just more methods. Now we have find longest, validate find longest line count. Longest line equals 0 for int I equals 0. I that's the number of windows plus if different windows at I count longest line equals windows at I dot count. All right, now we need to do the play simulation. String builder output line equals new console dot clear console dot foreground color equals menu color menu dot alternate console dot write /n/n/t/t/t registration windows /n/t/t/t. Make that space there. create dashed line 20 right for int I equals 0, I less than number of windows, output line dot append tw I plus 1. There, remember our bug fix there. Almost right, I don't like the spacing. Instead of that, primary color. Alright, so now longest line. Find longest line count for int I equals 0. I less than longest line. I plus plus. Output line dot clear for int j equals 0. J less than number of windows plus. Now we'll do output line append /t character if I less than registrant numbers at j dot count output line dot append registrant numbers at j at I dot path left 4 0. There we go. That now blank line alternate color so far /t create dashed line of 8 times number of windows console.foreground color equals menu primary display summary longest queue counter so far longest queue, then display summary events process so far summary /t rivals summary /t departures count of departure line and return. Now methods last two, so we'll do static void display summary string message int value console.foreground color equals menu.primary console.write message and bring our space console.foreground color equals alternate color perfect. It should be value instead of message, but almost. Static string create dashed line int number of dashes. String builder line equals new for int I equals 0, I less than number of dashes, I plus plus, line dot append, return line dot to string. All right, there's this method. We're a little longer, but I guess that's the spacing, so hopefully that got it. There's several warnings we should take advantage and check later. That was added by accident. That just leaves program.cs. It was pretty long too, unfortunately. Not that bad. All right, let's do this. We'll finish up strong. File scope. Journal static string args. Okay. Let's do the other methods first. We'll start with the methods here. So private static void program loop menu convention registration. There's this one. Static int get expected registrations, return get valid input /n/t, how many registrants are expected to be served in a day. Parse int I less than 0. Correcting stuff when I don't want to. Then I greater than equal to 1,000,000. Value must be a whole number between 1 and 1,000,000. There we go. Let's copy that for the other ones. Make it a little quicker because they're very similar. Expected, let's get hours of operation, get valid input, how many hours will the registration be open? Be a number between this and 4. The value here is this and 4 as well. There's that. Do another one. Get number of windows. How many registration lines are to be simulated? Of course, int. We just need this one to be greater than 0. the number of lines must be a whole number greater than 0. Here's the one that's a little different, but not a ton. Private static double get registration duration. Return get validated input /n/t. What is the expected service time for a registrant in minutes /n/t plus example, enter 5.5 for 5.5 minutes, 5 minutes and 30 seconds /t. Try parse double d less greater than or equal to 1. So their numbers don't match again. What I put a print. The registration duration must be a number greater than or equal to 1. There we go. Now we need to write our function handler here. Static t get validated input t string prompt string full success t value and in our tuple, and then call it parser. The validator string error message. String user input equals get line from keyboard prompt while true for success parsed value equals user parser function. Again, user input. If success and validator dot validator, that's again parsed value and parse value. Console dot foreground color equals menu dot error color /n/t error message /n. Now console dot foreground color equals menu dot primary color clear invalid input user input equals get line from keyboard. That's again prompt. Static void clear invalid input. Press a key. Console dot clear. Now we need our functions. Static equal int try parse int string input int try parse input out int result. Do the same thing but for double. So I'll have to look that up too. Equivalent of VS codes CTR plus D. I actually don't know how to do that either, so I have to figure that one out too. Double. There's this method, static void setup console dot background color menu dot background color console dot foreground color equal menu color console dot clear swap console, so we begin with our color scheme. Static void say welcome console.writeLine line /n/t. Welcome to the convention registration simulation. Let's say key static void goodbye. Say goodbye. Console.clear. /n/t. Thanks for using the convention registration simulation. Goodbye. Let's see. Yeah, two more. Well, more than two, but static void. Press a key. W /n/t. Press any key to continue. Console dot key. Probably should pass intercept false there. That would actually save me one of the letters that was popping up. Let me put it to do there. To do. Alright, last method down here, static string get line from keyboard, passing in string prompt, console.write prompt, console.foreground color equals menu color.alternate, string user input equals console.readLine or throw new exception input cannot be null. It's a bad error, but hard to get that case actually. There we go. There's most of the functionality now. go back up the run program loop, I guess. All right, so here's the main portion. So we'll do convention registration equals new item, user selection, do file user selection does not equal menu item. On the inside here, we'll do user selection equals menu item, menu.getChoice. Now we'll do a switch user selection. We can do this. Go ahead and add those by default. Start with the default case since it's big. Break. Console.clear. Console.foreground color equals menu.error color. Right line /t and error has occurred. Program must stop. Console.foreground color equals menu.primary. That looks very much like, yeah, it's just continue versus. We might fix that too, but we'll leave it here for now. /10, press any key to close. Console.read key. Console.reset color. Console.clear. Move our theme from the view. Exit. And breaks shouldn't happen, but we'll leave it. This one should be a continue. Run simulation gets registration. Run simulation. Press a key. Registration equals new convention. Break. This one is registration dot expected duration equals get duration. This one is registration dot number of windows equals get number of windows. It's registration dot hours of operation equals get hours of operation. And registration dot expected number of registrants equals get expected registrants. So there we go. There's just this method. One more method, I think. Oh, two more that's got a static in it. In fact, let's do static first. Here we're going to return 0, static menu, set up menu, do right. Menu equals new, to do, make these show the current value rather than default. Problem is that they will need to update. New.add, set the expected number of registrants default Convention registration default. Number of regiments. Hours of operation. Set the number of hours of operation. Add. Set the number of windows default. Mention registration number of windows. Menu add. Set the expected checkout duration default. Menu add. Run the simulation. Menu add. Exit the program. Return. There you go. All right. Here, do a try. Setup. Say welcome. Menu equals setup menu. Convention registration. Equals new. Program loop passing in menu. Convention registration. Say goodbye. Catch exception like E. Console.writeLine. See the following error. Third. E.message. Finally, press a key. Console.reset. Color. Console.clear. That reset color would have been one I could have used my feature for. Console.rc. To do, consider wrapping the CTRL plus C so we still reset the color. Remove our theme from the view. All right, there we go. There's just our method or project. So in Visual Studio, you can click these to run it. This is run with debugging. This is run without debugging. Start without debugging. So here it should pop up a separate window. Yeah, go. Look at their colors. Got all the closing print. Fix that. All of these. Try that again. Yeah, there we go. So if we start running it, we should see it crash out. Okay. What is this? Convention registration. Approximately line 200. Very approximate. Registrant numbers equals that dot registrant ID. That should have been right. Object's not set. Nothing off by one error, I believe. Registrant numbers. Do I set those at? Yeah. Not off by one, but but off by that. There we go. And now it looks like it's running. Probably flashing a little less. You can see that. Let me add one more new screen. Or say this Visual Studio output. Windows. That's not working. That. There we go. There it's running, ending up, and so just there. And again, it's not flashing as bad, so that's actually good. But there we go. We've got our simulation back together at least. So for next time, we will actually try to begin unit testing, and we'll do it here and start seeing some Visual Studio. Right now, there's all kinds of buttons, and we have. All right. So that'll do it for this one. So this one has been an introduction to Visual Studio, and we've just been moving our code over because it's on a VM, and I didn't or thought this would be a good idea, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. It was a very long video, but we at least seen a little bit of setup of how we can use Visual Studio. And next time I'll plan to start with trying to see if I can answer some of the set questions from before, and then answer some of the questions from before, and then we can take it a step further and start using actual unit tests, start writing our own tests. So we'll call it there. So in episode 33 of Programming with Shadow. So thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.